Hi everyone, welcome to Rain Francis Art for Kids. My name is Rain. In this series, Art Lessons, I teach you all sorts of little tips and tricks about drawing and painting. So let's begin. For today's lesson, I'm going to show you how to use watercolor pencils. We're going to draw and paint 3 flowers, and we're going to draw and paint a butterfly and a bee. So let's begin. These are the supplies that you'll need to learn how to use watercolor pencils. You'll need some paper. I have this watercolor paper pad that I bought at the dollar store. It was $3. It has 20 sheets in there, and it's fine. It's absolutely fine to use for watercolor painting. There are a lot of expensive brands out there, and unless you're a professional painter and you're selling your artwork, you really don't need to spend a lot of money when you're just doing this as a hobby and having fun. You could always use regular white paper. I just want you to keep in mind though, if you're using regular white paper for watercolor, it's not meant to hold water, so it could warp very easily and it could rip and tear, and it might take a little longer to dry depending on how much water you use. So for me, I prefer to use watercolor paper, and I've got some watercolor paper ready right here. We're also going to need some water. I have 2 dishes here. Aren't they cute? They're shaped as apples. I found these at the dollar store last year and I took 3 of them. I bought 3 of them. I didn't take them. I bought 3 of them and I thought they were just so cute. I always have 2 because the water can get dirty quite quickly, and I always want to have some clean water. Of course, we need watercolor pencils. I have lots of colors here. But don't worry, if you don't have all the colors that I do, I'll let you know what you can substitute them with, okay? I also have some paintbrushes. They're small paintbrushes because we're going to be doing little detail work today to show you how to use these watercolor pencils. When you're using watercolor pencils, you probably will need to use a paintbrush too at some point. I've also got a lot of paper towel that I'm going to put here so I can wipe down my brushes. And just in case, I've got a sharpener in case my watercolor pencils get dull. I find my yellow one gets dull really quickly. Now I want you to have 2 pieces of paper, okay? I have one here that I've torn off the pad, and I've got one on the pad. So we're going to use 2 pieces of paper today because watercolor takes a little while to dry. So we can work on one drawing, put it aside and let it dry, start the other one, and while the other one's drying, we can come back to the first one. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. So on your first paper, we're going to draw a butterfly and a bee. So I'd like you to take, first of all, we're going to draw the butterfly. I'm going to use brown. If you don't have brown, you can use either a dark blue or black or purple. So with watercolor pencils, there are 2 ways of using them. Actually, there are 3 ways. The first way is that you can, let me grab a little test paper here. I'll use my green here. You can draw in what you want. You don't have to do this part, I'm just showing you. Okay? And then you can take a paintbrush, dip it in water, and then put water on it. And it looks like paint. That's one way of doing it. Another way, I've seen some people do this, I don't like this, but some people do it. They take their watercolor pencil, they dip their paintbrush in water, and then they go like this, and then they put their paint down like that. I just think that sort of defeats the purpose of having a pencil. You may as well just dip your paintbrush into some actual paint rather than doing that. So I'm not a big fan of that, but some people do it that way. And the way that I do it is the way that I'm going to show you today. I dip my pencil in water and I let it get really nice and wet. And then I draw with it. So we're going to start by drawing our butterfly. We're going to draw a circle. And you're going to know if your pencil isn't wet enough, it's not going to come out as paint. It's going to come out kind of, well, like a pencil, I guess. You're going to know when it comes out as paint. Okay, so we've got a little round brown circle or whatever color you have, and that's the butterfly's head. Now what we're going to do is do the body, draw the body in, just a thin area. And you see how this side came out with a lot of paint and this was kind of sparse? That's what I meant. If it doesn't come out like this and it comes out like this, then your pencil isn't wet enough. There we go, you see? Now it's wet enough. And I want you to use a very light touch because when these pencils get wet, they get very soft. So don't push down on them because you will break them. And just like any other pencil, turn it once in a while. Okay? And what you can do is take a paintbrush, dip it in a little water, and move the paint around. Fill the paint in. If you feel like there are some areas that maybe didn't get a good coat of paint, just fill it in. Okay? Let's clean our paintbrush. And we're going to leave that for now because we want it to dry. And I could sit here twiddling my thumbs while it dries, and you could sit there twiddling your thumbs while it dries. But instead we're going to start our bee. We're going to take our yellow pencil, dip it in some water. Let's see if it's wet enough. We're going to do a circle for the head. Yeah, mine's wet enough. Don't press down too hard, really. You don't want to break the tip of that because if you break the tip of your watercolor pencil, you have to wait till it dries before you can sharpen it. And then by then you might not be in the mood to do it again. Okay, now we're going to do the body, which is kind of an oval shape this way. Turn your pencil once in a while and you'll see that you're not wearing down one side of it. Now I'm just coloring it in. I've got plenty of water on my pencil and really I'm pressing so lightly. Don't press hard at all. And if you feel like you're running out of paint, just dip it in again. All right. I'll give you a second to catch up there. Now what I'm going to do is put the wings on our bee because I want the wings to be yellow. So watch what I do. I'm sort of doing a slanted M. There. See, I ran out of paint there. Got to dip it in again. Okay, that's kind of a slanted M. And I'm going to color that in with yellow paint. Okay, so that's all right for now. We're done with the yellow. Now these two things need to dry before we continue. So I'm going to take my page and set it aside. And I'm going to take the other page that I have, my other blank page, and we're going to draw some flowers. So let's start with, let's do a rose. And I'm going to show you how to do a rose. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to start on the left side of the page so that I can go this way. If you're left-handed, and I should have mentioned this before, start on the right side of the page and move in this direction, okay? Because we do need to let things dry before we move to the next drawing. So I'm going to bring my water a little closer, and I'm going to draw a rose, and I'll show you how to draw a rose. Wait a second. I have some dust here. There we go. Let's dip our red pencil into the water. And I'm going to draw the first petal. Really, really lightly pressing. It's like an oval shape, and I'm going to color it in. Okay? And like I said, if you feel like it's, there's a little spot of white there, instead of dipping this in again, you have plenty of paint on your page. You can just take a little wet brush and make sure the paint is all even there. If you want it even. There's a way of taking off paint too, and I can show you that right away. You need a clean brush, a dry brush, and you go and you do this. And you pull the paint off, pull the paint off, pull the paint off. Some people do that for shadows and different shading, but I'm going to put it right back. I just wanted to show you that in case you were interested. So I'm going to put another petal next to it here. Another sort of roundish, ovalish petal shape. And I'm making them touch in the middle. And I'm going to color that in a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to take my brush, give it a little water, dab it, and go in again and just even all of that paint out. And I may take some of that paint and put it onto this one because I took some of the other paint off there. Okay, we're going to continue doing that. Now watch what I'm doing here. I'm going to leave a space because I want to add some pink later. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space and I'm going to put a petal above, but not touching, okay? Because we're going to fill all that in with pink when the red is dry. There. Just a little egg oval shape. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Another oval shape. Don't forget to turn your pencil once in a while. It's very important. And don't press hard. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to move that paint around a little bit. I'm going to make the edges a little more round. And really, my friends, I am barely touching the page. Okay, so why don't we draw one more petal on the top, and watch where I put it. I'm not attaching it either. I'm leaving a little space. It's just kind of hanging out in the air there. Okay, and I'm going to take my paintbrush again, wet it a little bit, and move that paint around. All right, let's clean off our brush, wipe it down, and I'm going to move my water because now I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to do a blue and purple flower. So if you have blue and purple, you see what I just did? I banged my camera and I got red paint all over my fingers. All right, let's see. Maybe I should move my pencils somewhere else. I'll move them there so I don't bang the camera again. All right, so let's start with a blue color. I've got a light blue. I also have a dark blue, but you can use whatever blue that you want. I'm going to use my light blue, and I'm going to get it wet. And let's see if it's wet enough. No, see, it's not giving me any paint, so it's got to be more wet. There we go. Now it's giving me paint. Don't forget to turn your pencil. Very, very important, especially with these watercolor pencils, because they really can break very easily. Isn't that pretty? We're just doing a circle. That's the middle of the flower. Now let's just draw a whole bunch of petals, and we're not going to color them in. We're just drawing them. Oh, I need more water on my pencil. There we go. I keep turning my pencil every time I dip it. There we go. I might put a few little petals in the back too. There. What do you think of that? So you see what I've done? I've put some petals in the front, and there's some petals hiding in the back. Since I have my blue, I'm going to dip it in, and I'm going to color in those petals in the back with blue. Dipping and turning. Okay. Now we're going to let that one dry too. All right. We'll hold off on the purple for now because I want the blue to dry a little bit. I'm going to move my water dish over, and I'm going to take my yellow again, and it's getting really, really dull, so I hope I have enough paint because I'd like to do a dandelion. So I'm going to wet my yellow. Let's see if we have enough here. I need more water. I'm doing a circle, and I'm filling in the circle. So to make a dandelion, we want to give we want to give the dandelion some spiky stuff here. Turn your pencil once in a while. Little spiky petals that they have. now I'm just going to take my paintbrush and I'm only going to fill in the middle a little because I missed a spot there. But I want to leave the little spiky parts showing. Now this page is quite wet, so we're going to start working on our butterfly and we're going to work on our bee. And I want you to be very careful when you pick up your page. Keep it flat and just move it out of the way. If you turn your page, here's my other page, and it's dry now. But if this was wet and I turned it like this, I may have had drips coming down here, and I don't want that. Sometimes I want that, but not in this case. I don't know if you just heard my cat. That's Dana. Okay, I'm going to take, let's see, my black, and I'm going to dip it in a little bit. And if you're left-handed, work on the bee first, okay? Because I don't want you smudging your hand on the butterfly, so you may have to look at this, you know, you may have to fast forward the video or something like that. Okay. I'm going to draw little antennas on our bee, on our butterfly, sorry. Our bee has them too, so why don't we just put those on right now? There. This one needs a little more paint. Okay. So we're done with the black for now. Let's take orange. Orange color, get it wet. We're going to draw the wings of the butterfly. Let's see. Watch how I draw the wings. Dana? What is it, Dana? That's my cat, Dana. He just woke up from a nap. Okay, I want to show you something. Can you see what's going on here? The tip of my pencil is falling off because I pressed too hard because it's wet. So I'm wiping that off and I have just lost all of that paint, which is a real shame. So that's what I mean. Be careful. Don't press too hard. Now what we're going to do is we're going to gently fill in orange all around the edges of the wings, not in the middle. All around the edges. Press very gently. All right. Now I'm going to show you a little cheat. Remember that pigment that I lost here that fell off the edge? I'm going to pick that up. I'm going to stick it in my butterfly and I'm going to use it as paint. Okay, so I didn't waste it after all. But if you want to, you can use your pencil to color in the entire wing. I still have a piece there. I really, really don't want to waste it. There we go. Big orange wing. I'm happy I was able to use that piece that fell off. Now I'm going to go back and draw the other wing. Maybe a little bigger. And again, I'm going to just go in very lightly. Turning my pencil once in a while. Just around the edges. And I'm just going to put a little more on the inside. And then I'm going to use my brush and blend it all, okay? Wet your brush and just bring all that paint onto the entire wing. Okay? Now we're going to let that dry. Let's clean off our brush. And we're going to work on the bee. And for the bee we need black. My bee is dry. The antenna is still wet, but that's okay. We're going to give the bee a little eye. All right. And we're going to give the bee some stripes. Really, really apply this gently. You can give the bee as many stripes as you want. You can make them as thick as you want. Just remember to turn your pencil once in a while and apply it very gently because it's so fragile when it's wet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to outline the back of the bee here, just where the wings were. And at the bottom, remember the bee has a stinger. We're going to fill in the entire bottom area here and put a little point out. That's the stinger. I'm going to actually do this here too and give him a smile. Now I'm going to take my paintbrush and I'm just going to make sure that black is all filled in. I'm going to actually go around and I'm going to do the whole bee like this with the brush. You could do it with your pencil if you like. Okay, and I'm just going to put a line in between, a very thin line there in between the wings. Our bee is done, but our flowers aren't. So again, gently take your page and keep it flat and put it aside. And let's get back to our flowers. My dandelion is still wet and my blue is still wet, but my red is dry. So I'm going to go and take my pink color and I'm going to wet that pink. And I'm going to make little petals, if it's wet enough, little petals like this on either side. See what I'm doing? I'm just making it round on the outside, and then I can just fill it all in with pink here. Turning my pencil in. Making sure all the pink is in there. And if you want, you can put some pink over the red area too. That's okay. That will blend it a little better. Okay, and we'll do the same thing up here. Just a little round edge and a round edge here. And then we'll fill in all that white with some pink. And I'm turning my pencil again. And you see what I'm doing here? I'm bringing that down into the red here. Make sure it's nice and pink. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our purple. I've got my purple color here, and I've paint all over my hands. And I'm going to wet my purple, and I'm going to color in all those petals with purple. And if you get some blue in there, that's fine, because we want to blend it, and I'm going to show you. We're going to do the same thing as we did with the pink. We're going to bring the purple into the blue a little bit. But let me show you what I mean. Let me start here. All right, I have enough water. I'm going to fill in the entire petal with purple. I'm turning my pencil. Okay, let's do a few more petals. Now I'm going to show you what I mean by blending in. I'm going to go around the edges a little bit. Around the edges like that. And it's blending in with the blue color a little bit. I'm going into the little blue area here too. You see? Going into this little blue area too, so it becomes like a bluish purple color. And it blends really, really nicely. So let's finish coloring in the purple. Very, very light touch. Turning. I think if I had a better quality watercolor pencil, they may not break as quickly, but you know, I bought these because I wanted to try it out. I don't know if you can hear my other cat. He's next to me and he's licking his paws and he's making quite some noise. Don't forget to turn your pencil and really press very lightly. Okay, we've got one more petal. My cat. He sits by the window and he meows. Okay, we're going to go and do the same thing. We're going to just blend all that in with the blue next to it. All right. Clean off your brush and wipe it down. And if you want, if you have enough moisture on your purple, you can just do a few little dots in the middle there. Okay, so the only thing that's left right now is to put some stems on our flowers and maybe some leaves. So I've got brown and green. Instead of brown, you can use black. For the rose, I'm going to give the rose a brown stem. Just like that. And roses have some thorns, so I'm just putting in a few little thorns. There, and our rose is done. Now let's get some green. Let's see if it's wet enough. Almost. We're going to give this, I don't know what kind of flower this is, this purple and blue flower, a nice big stem. And some leaves. Okay? And now our dandelion. Just a little there. I'm very happy with these flowers. We still have to finish up our butterflies, so let's gently move this one away and go back to our butterfly. Our bee's all done. What should we do with our butterfly? I'm going to take my yellow pencil and I'm going to go around the edges of the butterfly with yellow, like this. It's just going to give it a little more color. And I'm going to separate the two wings with a little band of yellow like this. Can you see the yellow? I don't know if you can see it on the video, but if you're doing this, you're going to be able to, excuse me, you're going to be able to see it on your paper, that it looks really pretty. And I'll do it for the other side too. I'm running out of pencil here because I have to sharpen it, and I don't want to sharpen it because I have to wait until it dries. So I'm going to hope I have enough yellow here. Just enough. There we go. And I'm going to take my red color and I'm going to put in some lines. I'm just going to take a test paper right now. I want to make sure that my red is wet enough before I start. Okay, it's red enough. It's wet enough, of course, it's red enough. And I'm going to put in some lines like this. On the other side. There. Okay. I think I'm going to take that yellow again. I hope I have enough. And I'm going to wet it, and I'm going to put it a little bit of yellow just around the entire wing. I think that looks really pretty like that around the entire wing. Hope I have enough. Oh, I'm running low. Okay. I just need a little more. Okay, I made it. Look at how flat that is. I just made it. Okay, so now I'm just going to take a little marker and I'm just going to sign my work because I created it and it's my work. And our flowers too. I'm going to sign that. So we did some nice drawings today. We worked with some watercolor pencils, and I taught you how to use the pencils with water and how to take care of them. You really need to take good care of those pencils by turning the pencils as you use them, not pressing down too hard, and waiting until they're absolutely dry to sharpen them. So I hope that you enjoyed this little drawing lesson, my friends, and I hope you enjoy your watercolor pencils. So from Art Lessons, this is Rain. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.